Hello, I've already mixed the resin off screen. For this project I used moss epoxy tabletop resin, a rose gold mica, some gold foil flakes, and Castin Craft opaque white. So I started by filling my molds halfway with clear, and it was cold, so there was a lot of bubbles in the resin. And then I mixed up my rose gold mica powder and just a little bit in with the gold flake. And you have to stir that mica really well to make sure you don't get weird little spots where it's not thoroughly mixed with the resin. And I kind of tap it on the table to get some of those bubbles to rise to the top, and add 6 drops of the Castin Craft white opaque. Give that a good stir. Scrape the sides really well. These colors are going to be going into piping bags, so you want to make sure that they're thoroughly mixed, and give them just a minute for the bubbles to come to the top. Heat up my resin really well and try to get rid of some of those bubbles, which didn't really work out. I actually had to take the toothpick and pick out some of the bubbles, the larger ones, off the bottom. And that helps tremendously, because when it's really cold, they don't want to rise and off gas. And then I drag the toothpick around the edges to make sure I don't get any of those divots from having bubbles along the edges of these geode molds. Then I'm going to heat it again just a little bit and pour my 2 colors of resin into the piping bags. Now I squeeze the resin all the way down to the bottom of the piping bag and just cut the little tiny tip off. I don't really measure how much of that I cut off. It's just kind of eyeballed so that it squeezes out at the right thickness. You can always cut more, but you can't put it back, so you can start a little bit smaller and make it bigger if you need to. And then to start piping the design, I first put the gold flakes down in the center. A little bit goes a long way. And then I decided to alternate between the 2 colors of white and rose gold, starting with the white. And you just make a flower pattern around that center that you've started with. I'm not very good at drawing. Then I'll alternate that with the rose gold. And it's okay if you overlap a little bit or whatever, just don't stop, because then you get weird globs. And with this design, you want to take those petals all the way out to the outer edge of the mold, because as the resin cures, it tends to shrink a little bit, and you want that design to go edge to edge instead of having a lot of negative space around the edges of the mold. And once the design is complete all the way to the edge, I'm going to take my heat gun and warm up the resin to get rid of some of those bubbles, but also that starts the mica spreading, which is going to form those beautiful petals that hopefully you'll see when we unmold them. I'll let those sit overnight, and now let's see what we got. I think they're gorgeous. I think those are probably one of the prettiest ones I've ever done. I really like that color combination.